Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Wait for Your Wake-Up Call podcast. I am here today with an incredible friend of mine, Dr. Michelle Greenwell, all the way from Nova Scotia, Canada, the opposite coast to me. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here, Melissa.
I'm so excited to have you on the show and share your expertise with the audience. And first, I would love to introduce you to the audience. Dr. Michelle Greenwell has a doctorate in complementary and integrative health and is a movement specialist and tea artist. Combining her passion for living well with movement, she also explores the power of essences of herbs and intention to bring about a tea experience like no other. Her tea company, the Cape Breton Tea Company, has a complete series called Teas with Intention, based on the 5-element theory from Chinese medicine to support nurturing or advancing new patterns and growth. Her Harmony Blend series is based on the chakra system for healing and includes a full protocol for unwinding trauma. With training that includes Tai Chi, dance, touch for health, therapeutic touch, and neuroreflex integration, Michelle has devoted the last 40 years to advancing wellness plans for people that inspire, are effortless, and bring joy to the day. And of course, this month our theme is nutrition, and people probably don't really think about how tea can have nutritional qualities to it. And that's why I wanted to bring you on the show to share all of your wisdom and knowledge and experience in working with teas. And now I'm buying them and sharing them with clients. And I just love what you're doing. Let's just take a step back, though, and hear a little bit of your story and how you developed this passion for these beautiful healing blends that you create.
It's a funny story because my daughter actually is the reason I'm doing tea. And my daughter wanted to take a tea sommelier course thinking that's what she would like to be doing. And in order to do the exam, she needed somebody to sit with her, make sure she did the temperature correctly and check all the details. So I did that. And then she finished and she said, "This is not what I want to do." And I said, "But it's so interesting. How could you not want to do this?" And so I said, maybe that's what I should do. So I had another colleague that we were working on different programs, and we work a lot with the information that's been gathered by Evelyn Mulders, who has Sound Essences in BC, in the Kelowna area, and she has Western herbs for Eastern medicine. So we started to play with the ideas of Western herbs and how they can be inserted where Eastern medicine would be working, but we could do it through teas. And so that was when the Teas with Intentions were created, and they're created based on which element they best support. And then they can also be drunk in a series to follow the ideas of a nurturing cycle or a change patterning cycle that comes from the Chinese medicine way of working. So that's the short version.
Well, I love that. And I just love the idea of bringing the Eastern medicine and the Western herbs together, because there are so many healing modalities out there, and no one is necessarily better than another. It's what works for you. And bringing it all together just gives people more choices in their healing journey. And
Yeah.
that's what you're creating here by doing that. So I absolutely love it. So you talk about intentions with the teas.
Mhm.
And Tell me more about that and why you've included them and what difference that makes. The teas with intention. I mean, it's just a great phrase to say that.
right? And people say that they're doing intentions. They're saying they're doing affirmations. Many people will use the same affirmation day after day after day, but you really want to start making change. And change comes with how you intentionally put something together. From the work that I did in my dissertation, I developed a formula. I can't say I developed the formula. I identified the formula that comes with bioenergetic wellness, the key components that need to be present in order for change to happen with ease and flow. That means no effort. We don't have to think about it, and it just does it by itself. One of the key pieces was making sure that you have an intention and you activate it. Now, I usually activate it through movement in my daily activities, but I also can activate it through how I'm drinking my tea. And so that each package has an intention on it. It is based on the ingredients that are included and the essence of those herbs, how those herbs lift people up, and the relationship those herbs have with each other. So it's a completely different way of looking at the herbs, because a lot of people will think, well, I just need chamomile so I can sleep better at night. Or if I put peppermint in my tea after a meal, then I'm going to have better digestion. Yes, that's your intention, but your intention is well beyond just being able to digest your food at the end of the day. And when you're working on a wellness plan, you want to be doing things you haven't been doing. You want to go hiking. You want to do an activity you've never done. You want to be able to speak with confidence. There's lots of other things. Those intentions help you to really focus on the true things you want to be doing. Yes, we all want to eat better. We all want to have a wellness plan that's working really well for us, but that isn't our focus. Our focus is we want to be out there doing things we love and are passionate about. And when we're sipping on the tea, we can set our intention, we can activate it and put it in motion. And all we had to do was make a cup of tea. And it's so beautiful. And you can share it with friends. You can keep it in the fridge so you can help yourself to it instead of grazing through things that you might not really need to be eating. And you have a way of setting up the table and creating conversations amongst people. And it's just such a wonderful conduit for being able to bring more to the way that we live.
I love that. And after hearing that, the audience is never going to have the same tea experience again. Because
I hope so.
until now, that tea experience has been, drink the tea because you need to hydrate, you like the flavor, you're on the go, you might have even your to-go cup, and it's being consumed mindlessly
Mhm,
to a large degree. Even if you're in a coffee shop with a friend, the tea is being consumed mindlessly while you catch up with the friend, right?
mhm.
Whereas what
Yeah,
you're suggesting is a very mindful experience of
mhm,
slowing down and thinking about what you want and enjoying the tea that goes with that in order, and just the act of slowing down and sipping the tea and because of the herbs in it, that's activating that intention that you're focusing on. Is that correct?
that's correct. Yeah. It's a lot different. I was at a dance here in the summertime in Cape Breton. There's a dance every night of the week. And was at the dance the other night, and they had the tea on because people will go over towards the end of the night and grab their cup of tea. That means throwing the tea bags into a big pot, and I'll say tea bags because they'll put 10, 15 bags in the pot, and they'll just keep brewing it, boiling it like crazy. And and then you have to add milk and sugar because there's only one way to drink that because it's really, really bitter. And it's been sitting there and brewing. The thing about black tea is you want to put it in your water. Yes, you want to boil the water, but you don't want to leave it there for long because it goes bitter. And
Yes.
you want to be able to pull that tea bag out and really actually taste the flavor of black tea, which is rich. It's full of so much quality, but not if it's been boiled to death and turned into syrup at the back of the stove. So we joke about it here because that's the way tea was done, and was always on the stove so that when people came, you could offer them a cup of tea and you'd have something in the cupboard that you could offer. And times are different now, but it's really lovely when you can say, would you like to have, an herbal, uh, I've been doing iced teas and switchels for the last 2 weeks. So you could pull one of those out of the fridge and say, would you like this? That's a lot different. And even the energy of it, you can feel how it lifts you up just with the thought of it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And when you're talking about that tea, I'm a tea drinker. I'm not a coffee drinker, and I drink herbal tea all the time. And every once in a while, I'll have black tea. However, I don't like to consume a lot of caffeine because I'm very sensitive to it, and it'll keep me up at night if I have it past 12 o'clock. And you talking about that tea at the the back of the stove just being boiled over and over and more tea bags being added just reminds me of what I would typically see when I was in the corporate world in the kitchen in the office where it's just the coffee that's just brewed all day long and then somebody will come in and go, oh, this is sludge, and dump it out and start a fresh brew. And
Hmm.
so it sounds like it's
Yeah.
kind of the same.
Same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing that people don't think about is when they have um, um, whatever tea they've chosen, it's in a tea bag. So number one, you have the quality of the tea. So a lot of times it's very finely ground. So that means a lot of nutrition has already been oxidated out. The second part, it's in a tea bag. The tea bag is a paper. That paper has a flavor. And so it changes the flavor of what you're drinking. And so being able to engage with loose leaf teas, and yes, you can throw the loose leaf into the pot and fill the whole pot up, but you can strain it out. And it just means that the herbs get to open up and they get to just ooze their love out of them, I guess is the best way to say that. If you didn't boil the water, which is the other key piece, because a lot of people will boil it, then they'll burn the herbs. So you want to take that water up towards the boil, and then you're lovingly providing hot water for them to just let go of all their essence, but you're not burning them at the same time. And that changes also the flavor of the tea.
And that's really interesting too, because I like my tea hot, but not so hot that I can't drink it. And so
Mhm.
often when I'm out and, I have my mug here, this goes with me everywhere. I was just flying back and forth across the country and I take this on board. I stop at the Starbucks on the way onto the plane and I ask them to fill this up, and they're always very gracious and they do that. And I always have to say, well, can you leave a couple centimeters at the top where you can add some cold water? Because otherwise I can't drink it for the 4 hours of the flight. And I have to say the same thing when I ask the flight attendants to refill it, that the water coming out of the, automatic hot water dispensers at commercial establishments is so hot, I can't drink it. And
Mhm.
so that's just, I've never thought of the fact that it's so hot, it's also burning the herbs. And
Mhm.
then you're not
Yeah.
getting the, health benefits and the medicinal benefits of the herbs. So
Yeah.
that's a really
Yeah.
great point, that you want it to, get towards the boiling, maybe 85 or 90 degrees. You don't want it to hit that 100-degree point.
Right. And a lot of people too will say, well, I'll just boil the water and then I'll let it cool. But if you boil the water, it does change the capacity how the water works.
Oh, that's
So
interesting too.
yeah, so bringing it up towards the boil is where you want to go. And a lot of times with my herbal teas, I'll do 80 degrees,
Oh,
maybe
80, okay.
85. So I even back it off just a little bit more. The
So
other
I
thing
do
that I,
have to watch my kettle then. What's that saying that you don't watch your kettle boil? I do actually
yeah,
need to watch my kettle to make sure it doesn't boil yet.
well, and that's the other piece of being mindful, because if you put the water on to boil, instead of walking away to see how many other tasks you can get done, and then this is what I do, I forget that I boiled the water at all. And I come back like an hour later and realize, oh, I was going to make tea. But instead, if you actually stand present with the water in the kettle and it's warming up, and you do an activity, you give yourself that moment to bring the energy up before you go to actually drink the tea. So you've already cultivated a change and you've added that intention, and then you're going to add this tea on top of that. And you have this lovely little package of self care that takes only a couple minutes. And it can completely change your day.
And so can you give some examples of the activity that you're doing while you're waiting for your water to warm up rather than boil?
Yes, yes. So as a Tai Chi instructor, I'd say Tai Chi because we're known as foot exercises in Tai Chi, but it could easily be dance movements, because a lot of times I will tap dance. myself back into an energized position. So I would sit down on a chair and I have the seated foot exercises, which rotate the feet in and out in different directions. And that re-engages the brain for side to side, up and down, front and back. So all the dimensions, which means your thinking patterns are going to be all encompassing, not limited by where you might have patterns not working and it restricts back to the one that's most dominant. So you have that opportunity to engage that. Or you could do some spine rotations where you're turning from side to side with small turns, and that's going to inspire all the way along the spine, all the way through the nervous system, but also the lymphatic system, and massaging and releasing. So if you spend a lot of time sitting at your chair in front of your computer, you're going to be very static. That's going to start to pool. And so just a couple minutes in front of that kettle, and you could have that all moving nicely. And then you'll be able to feel the chi. You'll feel that energy flow within the fingers. They'll start to tingle, or in the feet. That's telling you the blood is flowing, the lymph is moving. You have a change in the status of the body. Yeah, simple
Beautiful.
tools.
Yeah, I love that. I'm definitely going to start doing that myself. And I have a question in regards to you saying sit down and rotate your ankles out and in. Do you have to sit down? Because I don't have a chair in my kitchen. Can you stand on one leg while you rotate the other? Or is there a difference to that to sitting down where that wouldn't be as helpful?
Yeah, I would, that's a very specific exercise, so I would do it seated.
Okay.
And the reason is you're going to be manipulating from the knee down.
Ah, okay.
And that's very different because then it reciprocates into other parts of the body in very specific ways. Yes, you can do a standing version, but if I was standing, I would just start tap dancing.
Hmm.
So I would start playing around with, I don't call it, somebody called it fruit salad. I don't remember where it originates, but it's very basic patterns like a march, and then a toe and a heel drop, and then shuffle the foot. And then there's one other pattern that has 4 pieces that starts with a heel, a paradiddle. And that little pattern there can completely repattern the body as well. But it doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to know a whole bunch of steps. You could just start marching. You could be humming a tune to yourself or throw your favorite piece of music on. And that's going to go right up the whole body. The other piece I would say is the foot sensor exercise that you can find on my YouTube channel. The foot sensors, there's 5 of them, that also repatterns neuroreflexes. So brain to body connection, and then you have grounding, stability, centering. That changes again how you're going to be thinking, making decisions, moving forward, and even having creative thoughts. So
Beautiful. Well, thank you for all of that. And we'll make sure we put that YouTube video on into the show notes as well so people can access that. Because these are
mhm,
some, really great tips of how we connect body, mind, and how we can do it in short little snips just while you wait for your water in your tea to heat up and then sit
yeah.
down and enjoy it mindfully. So
Mhm, mhm.
beautiful. So, how can people choose the right tea for them? I know you have lots on their website, on your website. How can they do that?
So you may be attracted right away to something. That's usually an indicator that's where you want to go. I would recommend that you don't necessarily say, well, I don't drink, because sometimes it is valuable. So as you know, I didn't drink black teas for a long time. And then we had all herbal teas in the company at the start. And then somebody said, but I really want a black tea. So then I started drinking black tea in order to figure out how I wanted to play with it. And then all of a sudden I had inflammation disappear and my joints started to change. And I was like, oh, you know what? This might have been valuable for me. But in my mind, I had already decided
Right.
this is what I wasn't going to drink, right? It's a little bit different with caffeine because, what you want to do. But some of the blends have black tea in them and have green tea as a combination, but it's a very small amount with 12 other ingredients. So it's going to be very micro. So just to go to what you're attracted to and maybe read some of the intentions on the packages, and then see what you might be reflecting with based on a goal that you have. And the other way is to muscle monitor. So if you don't know how to do that, then you can use a body sway test where you just stand on your feet And if you stand really grounded and you're thinking about, in front of me at the moment is Highland Splendor tea. So if I was thinking about Highland Splendor and I'm standing on my feet, if I start to waver around, it's not going to provide me with the best energy at the moment. But if it hunkers me straight down and I feel really grounded, that's one at the moment that is really going to help sustain me and bring vitality up. So I know it sounds like a crazy way to choose tea. However, when you start to realize what throws your energy off and what keeps you in balance, you quickly discover how to take things in and out. And from a nutrition's perspective, that's that's more valuable than choosing something because you know it's good for. In this case, you have this whole combination that's been specially put together for you. And then you can go, yeah, that's the one that really, really lifts me up. That's what I want to drink.
Well, and it may sound like a crazy way to choose your tea. However, with all the unconscious mind work that I do, I know that that process is tapping into the unconscious mind, which and the higher self. And the unconscious mind is the other 90% of the mind that we aren't taught about through the school system, etc. And between the unconscious mind and the higher self, they have your perfect blueprint for perfect health already programmed and will never set you astray. And when you
Mm-hmm,
slow down enough to be able to connect so that those little micro muscles will guide you, whether it's with a pendulum, whether it's using muscle monitoring or the body sway, you're tapping in to what your inner self already knows. And you're just
mm-hmm,
accessing that knowledge and it's giving you the answer. So it is
mm-hmm,
actually a very powerful way to choose what you need in the moment right now.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you can, one tea may not show up as holding solid at the moment, and then you could try it again later in the day, and now it's the one that's holding. So not to discount it,
Mm-hmm.
just not at this time, which is
Right.
also really good to know because they come in and out, they weave, and they have personalities, and those personalities jump out at the right time. It's particularly when you're working with intention and you know what kinds of things you're striving for, then those teas know how to accelerate that process.
Beautiful. And I also love what you said about don't just discount something all out like you did with the black
Mm-hmm.
tea, because
Mm-hmm.
there are such healing qualities to all of them. And
Mm-hmm.
it may be that your body actually needs it. And again,
Yeah.
if you muscle test, your body will tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's not that anybody is going to have, I mean, you might love them to have every single possible variety that you've ever made in their kitchen. However, they could have, three or four
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then choose on any given day which one is the right one for them. And you have
And that's a
so
key thing
many.
you've said. Yeah, the given one on it on the chosen day, because a lot of people will buy something and then that's all they'll drink, and then they drink it till it's gone and then they move to the next. But if that's not what your body's needing, you're not maximizing. So then that choosing and playing back and forth, and you might get these combinations that work really well together. Start in the morning with one, by mid-afternoon you need something else, and in the evening it's different. And the next day you don't have the same day, you have a different activity you're going off to do. It'll be a different order. So just to be really open to understanding what lifts you up and then feeling the difference of how you've chosen your day to be over just choosing because it's a pattern. It's a
Right.
habit. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I've never thought about tea in this much detail before. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely going to start changing some habits because I'm one that has my two favorites. And I just do exactly that. I'll keep using one. I love it. And then when that runs out, oh, I switch to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And I never think about what my body actually might need. They both have ginger in them and they both have green tea in them. So those are kind of my staples because, boosting my immune system and then the benefit, all the health benefits of green tea, that's why I love them. However, I'm excited because I know you're going to be shipping me some tea soon and I'm excited to be trying them. So beautiful. And you were going to say
I was
something?
just going to say, yeah, what's interesting is black tea and green tea both have high antioxidants,
Hmm.
but the marketing is green tea. So depending on how the system wants to function, just being aware of that because there's that openness of it. And the other piece is when you're playing with the herbs, think about what you're pairing it with when you eat. Because some people will just sit down, it's time for my cup of tea. You didn't even look at what is on your plate, but depending on the foods you've chosen, the foods will change flavor and the tea will change flavor based on what you pair it with. And so sometimes it's really nice to know that this tea is always great if you're going to have a piece of chocolate at the end of the night, or if you're going to have a specialty cheese, then this tea often goes really well with this kind of cheese. And they enhance each other. And it's such an incredible experience when you sip the tea, have the piece of cheese, go back to the tea, and it's like, wow, that flavor changed. And then again, that mindfulness of eating, that opportunity to go, this I really enjoy. And now the nutritional qualities of what you're doing is going to be enhanced.
Now it's sounding a whole lot like the wine industry. You know, you started off talking about your daughter wanting to be a tea sommelier, and then now we're talking about pairing it with chocolate and food and cheese, etc. That I've
Mm-hmm.
never thought about tea in that category before. Now, I'm not a wine drinker either, and this is just opening up big doors
Mm-hmm.
for me of
Mm-hmm.
a whole new experience that we all can participate in. And if we're wanting to even cut back on how much wine we're drinking in the evening, that we could
Mm-hmm.
start to switch the wine for the teas and have that similar experience. And when we choose to be mindful about it, it can calm our nervous system without
Mm-hmm.
the negative side effects and the negative impacts on our health of what we get from the wine. There's, wine has some antioxidants and resveratrol, etc., but there's also a lot of sugar, right? And there's also hangovers if we overindulge. With tea, there isn't any of the above
Mm-hmm.
unless we're choosing to add in sugars, which, maybe with the sludge at the back of the stove, you might need to do, but with the delicacies of your teas, that's not needed.
Right,
So it's
right.
an option for people to create a new nighttime experience and enjoy the tea rather than a couple of glasses of wine.
And the
So,
other thing is to think about what you serve it in, because I've transferred all of my glassware over to tea. So a champagne flute full of a gorgeous bright pink is lovely to hold on to at the start of an evening with friends. And a wine glass that has hot tea in it, that has the steam circling around the top, just the droplets and then the steam coming up. You're holding on to the stem, and then as the tea cools, you put your hand around the color. Now
mm,
you have connection to color, which is a whole other healing conversation. But that is so much fun to
yes.
be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Over the It's lovely to have a ceramic mug that feels really good in your hands, and I have lots that I've chosen for that. But then there's this other piece about connecting in with the color and what's happening with the tea through your stemware. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea. That's beautiful. And while we're talking about pairing with food, etc., can you share about tea in cooking and
Mm.
special drinks? And you've mentioned also iced teas. So are all of your teas ice versions or just some of them?
All of them. All of them can be an iced version. Some will be very soft because they're an herbal. Some will be a little bit more robust, maybe because they have the more of that fruity kind of flavor. And then if you go to the blacks or the greens, they just have a richness that comes into them. So all of them can be used that way. You can add a little bit of juice to them. So I've been playing around with Island Vitality. I've got with a lemonade, but I have Queen Mary, which is a creamed Earl Grey, which can go with strawberry and basil. And these are things that people just aren't really thinking about.
Mhm.
And then there's the switchel recipe. Now, most of the teas can be used for the switchel recipe. It'll be to your taste which one you prefer and how much more robust the switchel may be. But that provides for berries. I love to use rhubarb. And then it has molasses, apple cider vinegar, honey, and lemon juice. And that replaces the electrolytes on a hot day. It's an amazing drink to have ready to go. And it's a nice bright color, which is also fun to play with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So many choices. And I know you have lots of recipes on your website as well that people can go
Yeah.
to as a
Yeah.
reference tool.
Chocolate cake. Chocolate cake with tea inside. Yeah. Amazing.
What a great idea. I know that you've also approached your ingredients in your teas from a spiritual essence rather than just their medicinal qualities. And can you talk a little bit more about why you've chosen to do that?
Mhm. The reason we chose to do that is because most people they ask one herb to fix all their problems. So if they have a digestive problem, they want peppermint to fix it. Now, that's a big job for an herb
Yes,
when you put it in that perspective.
it is.
So then when you start to think about what is the what is the reason for something? You know, rose petals have to do with love and generosity, bringing people together in community. We use them for special occasions. We offer them when we want to tell someone we love them. And then you add rose petals to a tea blend, you're bringing that same love component in. And just thinking about that, you're already thinking, oh, wonder which tea blends have rose petals. And then it's like, how can I lift that up? And then we have the relationship that might be, that comes from the Mission for Change community tea. That particular tea takes the different herbs and talks about how they come together in community aspects. How do we connect with each other? How do we offer support to one another? Where is our generosity? How do we bring people together into a collective conversation? And again, that's a different way of thinking about tea, but that community tea has been in many business meetings. And you can have a group of people who do not agree on how they're going to solve the problem. But if you pour tea at the beginning and start with a tea ceremony and you have that tea ready to go with its intention, you might read the intention off the front cover and then the room sips the tea. There's your activation to intention. And now everybody has the same goal. Doesn't matter how you're going to accomplish the goal. All that matters is you reach the goal. And pretty soon, you know, the different viewpoints of why my idea might be better, it just all starts to do this. You can't do that with an herb if you say it is good for. Most of the herbs are great as support for inflammation, picking up the micronutrients. When you start to look at what are they good for, many of them are good for a lot of things. They're also things that grow in your community, means that the community needs more of those kinds of qualities. So you start to identify, what do I have in my community? How can it come together? And then how can I let the personality of the herb come forward? Because if somebody said, oh, that's Michelle, she does this, you know, I'm a movement specialist, period. Well, that's part of me, but that's not all of me.
Right.
That's not the person that people see when I'm in this hall and I'm doing toast and tea on Tuesdays. There's this whole other essence of me that really brings my programs to life. And that's the same with the herbs. We don't want to pigeonhole them. We want to actually say, hey, I want to engage with you. Come along on the ride.
That's beautiful. And so you have to look at, the spiritual aspect in order to capture all of it, rather than if you just look at the medicinal, you're narrowing it down too much.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so often we do that, even in our health. The medical system looks at one organ and tries to figure out what's wrong with that one organ, or, gives the medicine and the prescription drug to support that one organ, as opposed to looking at the whole being and what else is out of balance, what else is deficient in order to
Mm-hmm.
bring the whole being back into health. And you're
Mm-hmm.
taking the same approach here. So I love
And
that.
I'm thinking about, because you probably do the same, when we meet with a client for the first time and we ask them what their goals are, and then we ask them about their lifestyle. And one of the things about the lifestyle is, for most everyone, it's highly stressful,
Mhm.
depending on whatever details they want to put into that. But when you start with that tea and you start your day with the tea, you stop time. And that stopping time is so important. And so that opportunity with our clients to say, yeah, how is that busy, stressful life going? Where are the problems in the way that you've set up your day? How can we support that? Tea is such an easy transition for people to move them out of their rushing or move them out of their patterns, introducing new ideas and play. That's the other piece that's so important. And I know with the work that you do, it's that same identification
Mhm.
of bringing those qualities around and listening to how is the whole person functioning. And you're right, not how is the organ functioning or how will this one herb fix me. Yeah.
Exactly. And you've also mentioned the Unwinding Trauma to Build Resilience project, and you were recently traveling in Europe. Talk to me more about that and how that relates back to your teas.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I set as a goal, so my intention building, was to attend a conference in Tenerife. And the conference was called Unwinding Trauma. And we had to be able to present something in the healing industry that had not been presented before. So I take that literal. What have I done? What have I got that has never been done before if I look at all my gifts and how can I combine them? So we went to art, we went to color, we went to intention. I went to the formula that I was talking about that I identified from my dissertation. And we created a movement pattern series. We created music to go with it that's intuitively played. And if you're lucky enough to be in the musician's presence while they're intuitively playing for you, that's really awesome. And the color and the art. And as I was finishing the project, I kept getting this message that I needed to add the tea. The tea was forgotten and they wanted to come along. So I thought, oh, I'll need a blend, one blend. No, I sat down to do that. It took me a week and 6 blends came out of the woodwork and I played with them in different ways, but it brought that idea of how the chakra system supports trauma and how we find our root, how we come to our heart space, and how we can come up to our third eye or our brow, which is where we can identify new ways of moving forward with the expertise and experience we have. And the teas were born out of that. So being able to sip the teas at different stages of unwinding some trauma that might have been a long time ago, might have been in your history of your family, but you have this opportunity to start at the basics, think about your intention, what you want to change, and then how through intention you can start to sip your way and change your days until you get to that place where you go, these are the gifts that I gained from that experience, and here's how I want to use them going forward. And it might be for your personal use, but it might be something you want to share with others. This project was really amazing for a whole year working on it. And it is really delightful to see people's faces as they sip on tea and then realize what they thought was a problem might be a gift, or that as they've come through a few of the tougher parts, all of a sudden it moved them into this new space. And then you're thinking with mental clarity, that tea all of a sudden is like, oh, I know what I want to do now. And off you can go. So it's a full process package, or sip one tea, enjoy the intentions of the one tea, know that it's great for your heart center, being able to come out from the heart, or being able to transition you into speaking your truth. So
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. That's beautiful because in our work with timeline therapy, we are helping people release their trauma. And so, again, there's so many ways to heal. And what we always teach is exactly what you just said. Everything is happening for you. What is the lesson you need to learn so that you can keep moving forward? Now, in the moment of that trauma, we often don't see or feel, how could this possibly be happening for me? We're still in the victim state at that point. However,
Mm-hmm.
moving out of the victim state into solution city, where we can see the possibilities, we can see the learning, we have that mental clarity, it is so powerful. And I love the idea of, using teas and your whole package to help people get there. Because let's face it, every single human has trauma of varying
Mm-hmm.
degrees. And particularly right now, post pandemic, people are struggling more than ever. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's a really beautiful way that you can support people. So thank you. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. I love all of
Mm-hmm.
that. This has been
Yeah,
fabulous.
thank
I've
you.
learned so much, Michelle. I'm so excited for this episode to air and share it with many people. And I always love to ask my guests, what does "don't wait for your wake up call" mean to you?
Well, I waited for my wake up call. several times, which is very painful. So I would say be proactive and start it right at the start of the day. Make your day what you want it to be from the very beginning, not by patterns, behaviors, other people's ideas of how your day should go, but really, really embracing your day and take it on. So it's important to make the choice for you every day.
That's beautiful. So simply said and so very true. Now, if people want to get hold of you, if they want to buy your teas, if they want to work with you, I know you have a free gift for the audience. If you can please share about that,
Mm-hmm.
how people can get hold
Mm-hmm.
of
So my free gift sits on my umbrella website. So that's the Greenwell Center for Holistic Health, greenwellcenter.com, and it's CENTER. And right at the front, the top 8 stress releasers will come up. Those tools were invaluable for taking me from not being able to walk to being able to walk again and then to dance and do what I'm doing now. So they're very valuable tools, and you can just do one of them or you can put them in packages together. So that's the free gift. If you want to purchase the tea, you can get there from the Greenwell Center site, or you can just go right there to capebretontea.ca, and that will get you right to the page.
Beautiful. Super easy. And I will make sure all of that is in the show notes for people. And do you have any last piece of wisdom that you would like to share with the audience as we wrap up this show?
Well, it is summertime and it's going to be hot. So instead of filling up the water bottle with just water and ice cubes, take some leftover tea, make the ice cubes, maybe put some herbs in them, freeze them, and then put that into your water bottle, water, and then add the ice cubes. You've got a colorful thing to look at, so a clear water bottle is great. And the other would be then also to take the switchel recipe, put it into ice cubes, and you're going to have this burst of flavor that's going to come out in the water, and it's just so lovely. But really thinking about how tea can be serving you through these hot months, not just waiting for when it's tea time in the fall. And yes, it's tea time in the fall, but then you can start to shift to what does it mean to bring that warmth in and where do you need to go? Yeah.
I love that. The idea of using your tea to make ice cubes and then add that to your water for a burst of flavor. Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Michelle, and sharing your wisdom and wealth of knowledge around teas. I know the audience will have loved this episode. And to my audience, thank you for always tuning in and listening. And if you know someone that will enjoy this episode, please share it with them. Would you like to have access to a tool that works with the power of your unconscious mind? That means you no longer have to rely on willpower to create the change in your life that you want to change. Sounds amazing, right? It is. And I can teach you how to do this through my 1-day self-hypnosis masterclass. When you use the power of hypnosis, which is essentially giving suggestions to your unconscious mind while in a state of trance, and your mind already knows how to go into trance because we are actually in trance 90% of our day. It's just with hypnosis, we're giving our mind these suggestions of what it is that we want to achieve. You can hypnotize yourself into better health, into joy, into passion, into getting to the gym, eating better, living a healthier lifestyle, whatever it is that you're wanting to achieve that until now you've been relying on willpower and perhaps falling off, we can make this happen quickly, we can make it last, and we can make it easy because we're using the power of your unconscious mind. So if you'd like to learn more, click on the link at the bottom of the show notes to my link tree, go to the 1-day self-hypnosis masterclass. All the information's there. It is a super low cost price for this 1-day session that is super fun, loads of interaction and practice for you, and you will have this knowledge and this skill for the rest of your life. You are worth it and you will love it.